Okay, does anybody know my best squat jerk? I think I know what it is. I think it's 150 kilos, but I might have done 160 kilos. Wait. My best thruster is 150 kilos and my best squat jerk is 160. So tonight we're doing snatch pulls plus snatch up to 120 kilos. Back squats. I'm not sure how my knee feels. So if my knee is fine, we're going to do 5s at 220. The snatch pulls will be at something like 120 kilos. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 140. Might go a small bit heavier if the 120s are good. How many sets and reps will I do at 120? I'm not I'm not quite sure just yet. Somewhere between 3 and 8. So that's reasonable. Let's get to it. Training. Hopefully it'll be a good session. It happened again on the 220, so I did no squats tonight. Felt great, and some pauses. Did one set of pause plus 2 at 200. Did normal at 200, felt really good. Said I go 220, 0. Knees felt perfect, like a baby's. First rep 220, excellent. Second rep then, just came back. It's just a tightness coming up along the VMO. I did some soft tissue work on it yesterday and it is very sensitive. So I was hoping for a really nice triple at 220 there and no sleeves or belt or whatever. That was so annoying. So what I will actually do is I will bring you with me to my new muscular therapist tomorrow and just show you what he does. Snatch, pulls plus snatches were as planned, 120 kilos. Felt really weird, so I did a load of the thoracic mobility in the warm-up, a lot of rotations, and it felt really loose in the bottom position, which to be honest hasn't really happened before. It's not often you would do so much mobility that you become super loose. It can happen, but it's rare one warm-up session would ever make that much of a difference. Kind of looks like it there. So I felt just super loose and really far into the bottom position of the overhead squat. So we'll see how that should probably get a little bit more stable over the next few sessions. The thoracic is probably super tight for the last while, and I haven't really done much thoracic since I started snatching again last year. So it loosened up. Not really a common concern. It's definitely a thing that has happened to people and can happen, but it hasn't happened to me before because I've never made that big a jump in mobility. But technically they were good. Looking at them, they look good. They didn't feel great, but they were as planned, and that's kind of what I was talking about before. I was just needing to build momentum. So, last week I did my number, I did 110, and this week coming into the session today I was thinking, what am I doing this evening? On 120s, and I'll build momentum on that, and then next session and so on and so forth. That's the only way to progress in certainly anything sporting related, is building momentum session by session. Then we did snatch pulls up to 160 kilos, which I was pretty happy about. Some actual snatch pulls. It felt quite good. Really felt strong in the start position and keeping my back in a good position. So kudos to the back extensions. Felt a really noticeable difference there, which is fantastic. So I will continue to improve the snatch pulls. It's kind of pathetic that 160 is a good set of snatch pulls for me. So we'll need to improve on that a lot, considering, if you look at like Tashiki's training, he's back snatching 110 and he's doing snatch deadlifts at 170. So it's not the same. I know there's different ways you can approach this, but 160 should be very, very easy. So I'm pretty happy with that session. A bit strange. The knee is annoying. Not the pain is the problem. It's just that it's annoying because I was going to hit a really nice 220 triple as I was hoping for and planned, and then it just happened again. It's also annoying because on the warm-ups there's zero, absolutely zero. That's weightlifting. That's how it goes. That's how the cookie crumbles. Okay, let's continue the vlog, and yeah, that's all we can do. Okay, tonight's plyometrics and upper body bodybuilding and a little bit of back and core. I have a very short amount of time because I need to go see my therapist, and be honest with you, the reason I'm short on time is because I just like spending time with my son, and I got distracted and we got out training late. So that's good though. Anyway, I have to do jumps tonight. I don't know how my jumps are. My that knee is a little bit sore, so I need to see how that goes. I was supposed to record a video on how to improve your vertical jump, and I need to get some B-roll or some example footage tonight, but I don't think I can do it, so the schedule may have to change. But once I'm back on top, I might just do some straight-legged jumps. I'm gonna do some weighted push-ups, I think, and then I'm gonna do this really weird upright barbell row variation I do. It's kind of like a shrug, but I get such a nice pump in my lats from it. And I know people like, the pump doesn't mean anything. That's how I read those things from those people a lot of the time. So, and then we'll go and see my therapist. We'll ask him what's wrong with my knee, so maybe you can get some idea, because we don't like talking about injuries, but we do like having people who are qualified to talk about it. So maybe he can give you an insight, maybe of what's going wrong. And we'll touch on that thoracic as well with him. Okay, I'm wasting time. Let's get to it.
He's known for creating what's called the Wisner's Wurlitzer, which was it's like a church organ, and that he would brag that he could play the international media like a symphony to make any media narrative go viral in any country on earth because of the suite of CI proprietary media functions and its distribution network, especially when the U.S. had first layer into Africa or Western Europe or Central Asia. But that can't come home. You can't psyop our own people.
I've been seeing is that there's been legal action to try to halt some of it. They've been told to destroy any information that they got from certain databases? Like, what's your take on this, and whether any of that is going to hold up?
Oh, 100%. I don't know if it's going to hold up. I think it's going to be a legal dogfight. This is, it's funny because it's sort of which is USAID poaching, funding financially the networks around judges, around courts, around the legal system, around the governance structure of every country on planet Earth. I mean, Jamie, if you want,
NATO member agreed to reach that target by 2024. Yet 3 years later, most weren't even close. So Trump began threatening to pull the U.S. out of NATO.
This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States. NATO members must finally contribute.
Trump's threats that Russia's invasion of Ukraine convinced more members to reach the target. But as he runs for a second term, people that used to work for him believe he'll really withdraw from NATO this time.
First Trump administration that things can happen unexpectedly. This is a real possibility.
So how much does Europe's security really depend on the United States?
Wanted to do different things, they would all still be building and debt, and so the US kind of in a state to smooth all of that over.
The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 gives the U.S. another chance to step back. No country was threatening to take over Western European countries. Despite the new members, the U.S. does reduce the number of troops it has in Europe. The problem was, so did Europe. They dramatically cut defense spending largely in service of and social programs.
The European states.
Some of these specifics, he's correct that the U.S. still contributes a significant amount to Europe's defense.
So this was another one of those fact checks where you end up with multiple Pinocchios, but you're not really getting at the meat of the issue. If you look at the action.
Weapons, the U.S. provides a lot, including some key things like long-range missiles, heavy lifted fueling aircraft, and intelligence technology. The UK and France have nuclear weapons. It's still U.S. nukes that serve as the ultimate deterrence, shielding NATO from them. While they have 1.9 million soldiers combined, a recent analysis found they would struggle to get more than 300,000 ready to fight. And in the past few years, many European militaries have shrunk because they can't find enough recruits. Europe would also have trouble replacing the aircraft, long-range weapons, and intelligence technology. It doesn't seem ready to make the hard political decisions yet either. Governments are already struggling to raise the target to 3% of GDP. And French President Emmanuel Macron has even suggested forming a European army, or at least a more muscular Europe. But it's past time for the power to join them. And the US is contributing.
Right, Kev, what was wrong with my knee?
Well, that's a good question. Where do you start? There was just a bit of hypertonicity, so you were a wee bit tight in all of the quadriceps. So when we did the muscle shortness test, just checked for first area bind. That was happening before you got to 90 degrees at the knee. So what we did was look for any bunching of the muscle fibres above and below the area you'd said was tender, but that area had kind of shifted in a couple of places, so it wasn't really spot specific. So I wasn't completely convinced that it was a strain of anything in particular at the start, otherwise that would have just stayed specific to in one spot instead of darting around. So went every inch of the quadriceps, elbow, and found a couple of areas that were bunching. Didn't find any referrals. Did we find anything that was referring down to the knee whenever it was putting pressure on?
No, not for the
hip.
No.
But felt tenderness, modulator ease, and then when I checked the range of motion afterwards, we had probably 30-40% increase in range, and then we just did some contract relax type mobilisation on the leg, and that freed it up even more. There was a wee bit of tenderness in the initial contraction. It was only about 20-30% your strength, but then that actually dissipated as it freed up. There's no real stretching involved in that. Like, if you suspect a strain at all, you don't want to be forcing a stretch, and you shouldn't be forcing a stretch anyway. So if the contraction doesn't let you get to a new barrier, well then you don't go to a new barrier.
Okay.
know. So that was it. At the end, we ended up with a fair good a fair bit of an increase in range of motion on both sides. Just more work to do and keep an eye on it.
Ideal. So we saw there from Kev that just a bit of tightness as suspected, which probably came from that long drive to Dublin and then not warming up. That's how you get injured, but be it as it may. So he thinks it's a minor strain, so nothing major to concern about. Definitely eased off a lot after a lot of the soft tissue work and mobility, which is great. I'll probably take tomorrow off and then do a normal session, my normal Thursday session on Friday. Changing around the week, I don't like doing that. So I'll change that up. We'll give it tomorrow, do a bit of cardio tomorrow instead of my training, and then get back to it on Friday, and then hopefully which should be well. The main lesson I think you can probably take from this is the fact that this is definitely just some things that are going to happen. So having an action plan, having a SOP, a standard operating procedure that you enact when you get injured is a good idea. Now, I have one from lots of experience, both personal and with athletes. So I have a series of actions that I take when I get hurt. I have someone I know who's really reliable. I have a good handle on when something is serious and when something is just minor. This is clearly minor. So learning what is minor and what's not minor is a really good idea. And then learning who to see, what to do, what can you do yourself, what can you do when you see someone. It takes a long time. So we'll see how it goes. I'll catch you in the next session. Okay, so yesterday I took a full day off, didn't do any training, no cardio, no weightlifting, nothing. I didn't even do any mobility, so I just took a full day off and obviously leave the knee alone. So there's no real pain when I do anything at the moment now, so I can't really tell until I load it up, but a day off is prudent. Normally tonight is just cardio, but what I'd like to do is just do a little bit of squatting tonight and see if I can load it up a little bit and just get an idea of how it's going. I don't necessarily need to do this, but I do like to see where it's at. I was also looking back through when I snatched 155 and I was snatching 140s for doubles and 145s just fucking daily for the weeks leading up to it. And one thing I did notice was my upper body mobility was a lot better, a lot better. Lower body mobility is as good then, if not better now, but the upper body mobility hasn't come back quite as much. Jiu-jitsu stole so much from me. So I need to put a bit more effort into that upper body stuff, external rotation and thoracic mainly. So I need to work on that better, because right now it's not good enough. And I have been working on it, but I haven't been pushing it as hard as I need to push it to get into a better place. Like, it's been very serviceable at the moment, it's working well, but it could be better, especially the externally rotated position at the bottom of the snatch. Right now it's not good enough. It's not good enough. So I'll do a little bit of squatting tonight, and then we will go and see how it fares tomorrow and Sunday. So I'll show you the squatting mobility. I don't think you want to watch me sit on the bike for an hour, and because that would be pretty boring and that would be a lot of space on the camera wasted. So I'll get doing that. You might get some ideas. So thoracic and external rotation of the shoulders will be work tonight. Might give you some ideas to do some stuff for yourself. And then, you should probably be doing some cardio. Everyone should. Everyone should be doing it. Everybody. Everyone. Okay.
That's amazing. Yeah. We did assignment with the seatbelts on, and the lady, she actually put her seatbelt on when I leave. I was like, yeah. That's crazy.
Okay, a little bit of mobility done. The left side external rotation is really lacking. So the 5 kilo plate wasn't doing enough. Moved to the 10 kilo plate on the last 2 sets and definitely felt a bit better stretch. Again, be super cautious if you're going to do any kind of weighted stretching. That's specifically mobility. I know technically everything is weighted stretching, but as we understand mobility, specific pieces like that, you know, it can really easily inflame your shoulder, your elbow, and make problems worse. So low and slow with those kind of things, weeks and months, like you would with anything. You know, you wouldn't go max your back squat the first time you ever did a back squat. Same with that mobility. Shoulder dislocates, I'm still on the fence about. Used to do them loads when I started weightlifting first. It was just a big thing everyone did in weightlifting was shoulder dislocates. And then kind of went off them for years, but now I'm kind of wondering how they are. So I'm going to be using them the last while with a resistance band. And we'll see have they any just meaningful impact. So knee, you can still feel it a tiny bit. So just low and slow again. Keep it cautious, don't annoy it too much. Okay, I'm gonna do my cardio. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so today's day 4 of the vlog. Today's supposed to be my upper body bodybuilding, plyometrics, and some sprinting. But what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna do a lot of mobility again. I'm gonna do some more upper body mobility. Again, I was reviewing the lifts from when I did 155 and that upper body mobility was much better than it is now. Now I know it's improved a lot over the last year since I've gotten back snatching, but it's still not good enough. I'm much closer to where I used to be than where I started a year ago, which is great, but I need to get after it a little bit harder. I need to be much better. So I'm gonna do a bit more of that, do some more quad stuff. Then I'm gonna do a little bit of jumping. I won't do any sprints tonight. I'll play it safe, then I'll do some core and back, and I might do some Nordics as well. Upper body, bodybuilding stuff, I'll be honest with you, I haven't really thought about what I'm gonna do. A lot of those sessions I just do the same thing for weeks on end, or I'll just randomly get sick of it and do something different. But I'm pretty happy with the knee feels. It's kind of hard to tell until I do something. So the problem with this was when it was only sore at heavier weights, I couldn't tell until I got to those heavier weights. So we'll do as the professional ordered and get on the quad mobility. I'll show you some good stuff for your quads here. You're not going to like it and it's going to be pretty rotten, but it will be useful for your tie. If you have your own tight quads, if you feel like at the top of your kneecap it's always tight and achy, one of the things I'm going to do here is going to be disgusting, but it's going to be really useful. Then I'm going to do a really good upper body mobility for external rotation. Do be cautious with this one. I actually saw this from Kate Vibert. Years ago. So really good one. And definitely it's something I'd actually kind of forgotten about until I was thinking about what stuff do I need to do for my upper body mobility. And this is one of them. So check out those. Again, I'm gonna have to push it a bit harder to get back to where I want to. I'd kind of like to do some snatch balances tonight. Just to get a little bit of extra practice in because I haven't snatched since I haven't snatched since Tuesday. And while I'm snatching relatively low frequency 3 times a week, I don't want to get it too low. So if the mobility feels really good, I might do a little bit of snatch balance just to keep the practice in. But mobility, main thing. We'll do some straight-legged box jumps to the bench, nothing crazy, and then upper body mobility and upper body bodybuilding. And if it all feels good, we might do a few snatch balances. Okay, let's get to it.
Just announced there's another new Game of Thrones spin-off that they're working on, and it's closer to actually happening than some of the other many spin-offs that they've already talked about. So based on the announcement, we have a pretty good idea for which event it's going to cover and who the main characters are going to be. So we'll break it all down. Of course, I will do episode videos for when it releases. I'll be in my 90s someday, still talking about the latest Game of Thrones prequel series. They'll probably have a reboot as the main main series a couple times on the level of House of the Dragon in the original series, not like Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. That was the juxtaposition they offered for comparison, a smaller, more intimate show with a shorter run. So all the other spin-offs they're working on were developing a Doom of Valyria or Valyria series early on, then abandoned that idea for now, temporarily just canceled essentially behind the scenes, but they could always bring that back in the future. I know there are a lot of people out there who would love to see an ancient Valyria face series. Outside of those two things and what they've already announced that they're doing right now, there's really only two other things that it probably is. The Blackfire Rebellion, I'm talking about the first Blackfire Rebellion, the biggest one, and Robert's Rebellion. Pretty much the entire internet would love to see Robert Baratheon in his prime before he turned into this hot, sweaty mess. It looks like he used later seasons, like the very last season, the last couple of episodes, to speed run the last couple Blackfire Rebellions because they were much smaller events. It sort of wrapped up what eventually happened to House Blackfire in general and the survivors of Daemon Blackfire. All of the Blackfire Rebellions covered about 5 generations of the Targaryen family in Daemon's decisions, policies, constantly, so he was definitely not his favorite son. Also had a true-born daughter named Daenerys. HBO would absolutely love to have another Daenerys on screen that they could trot out every single week. And because his marriage, his family life was so unhappy, he slept around a lot, like Robert Baratheon style, for the blessed. He's the one who died without any children after trying to fast for too long. So that's how the line of succession jumped from Aegon III's line to his younger brother, Viserys II, who's also a little kid on House of the Dragon right now, Rhaenyra's other son with Daemon. Aegon IV was Viserys' son. Jon Snow and Daenerys on the main show come from Aegon IV's line. If it wasn't clear, because House of the Dragon's on right now, Jon Snow and Daenerys come from Rhaenyra's line. Great-great-great-great-great-grandma bless. But Aegon IV was kind of like Robert Baratheon when it came to actually being a king. Like, he wasn't that particularly great of a king. He loved partying, he loved sleeping around here in this video here. Which after Aegon the Conqueror died, each Targaryen king would pass down to their successors. So if the king gave you Blackfire, the Valyrian sword, it was a sign that he wanted you to become the next king. And because Daemon had been legitimized, he formed House Blackfire. Bastards born in the Crownlands here are typically called water, so...
Moments, Brian.
Now we're flying over right now. We're flying over a thing called the Gulf of America. And I'm signing a proclamation that perhaps you can define that. The international waters. Flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America.
First of all, oh my God. It shot him up. I think airplane pilots must be the most powerful force in the universe. I feel like the Democrats, half of those can't figure out straws are in food. Now, donate to tubes, stupid turtles. So Trump is making America great again by taking us back to 2016. But obviously, if we're going to make America great again, we can't stop in 2016. We got to keep pushing to that place when America was truly great. How much further back do we need to go?
The money that we were taking in.
Good point of order. To the extent that we were at our richest from 1870 to 1913, it wasn't so much we as like 4 guys. And we called them robber barons as a sign of affection. Meanwhile, the rest of America, the leading cause of death was falling into a vat at work. To the point where old. For those of you at home who might fear that the president's desire to take us back to our nation's historic greatness may tread into unconstitutional action, fear not, because the brilliant design of our nation allows for the co-equal branch of
We're shooting Polaris commercials tonight. But we are shooting Polaris commercials tonight. And if we're going to shoot Polaris commercials tonight, we need to go Polaris. Now, the whole excuses in the world not to be in shape all the time. I see people just really me down. Completely forgot. And I'm also kind of ready for summer. And then the rest of my day, like
Okay, that was a fun session, a productive session. So I did lots of mobility. This quad was actually giving me a little numbness in certain positions when my hip was closed up just in the last day. It's something that's happened before, and it's just usually just tightness along the quad. So quad mobility coming at the right time. So I'm pretty happy with that. Snatch balances felt pretty good after all the mobility, even in the barefoot shoes or non-weightlifting shoes, so that's pretty nice. Still a long ways to go, but I'm pretty happy with how that is going, and we will continue to work hard on it, and hopefully I've given you some ideas for some stuff to work on for yourself. And you can see some of the weighted progressions on those. So again, do be super cautious when you are doing stuff like that, when you're doing weighted stretches specifically, that you go low and slow. And you might not think it in the moment, but very often the day after it can be sore, so be super cautious. Then the bodybuilding seated press. So it's actually quite useful for thoracic mobility and a good bodybuilding exercise. I didn't do any back tonight. I just fucking hate barbell rows. In general, I just hate them. I need to get a pulley system. I love lat pull down, seal rows, and I love horizontal rows. So I need to get some set up for that, because all my athletes get barbell rows. Loads of the programs have barbell rows. They're a great exercise, but I just hate doing them. So be that as it may, I am decently happy. Knee wasn't sore on the jump, so just kept it pretty light. Won't do any sprints. I might do a few sprints. I might just do 5 to 6. I really enjoy sprinting. I have to say I really like doing it. I don't think it'll have any impact on the knee because the depth isn't really there to put the pressure on the strain. Obviously I'll stop if it's sore, but I like it. Nordic falls or Nordic curls are starting to feel a little bit more in control. So I'll be there 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in maybe. So they're starting to feel pretty good. I have a bit more control on the way down and the way up. So hopefully it won't be long before a single rep. I just do sets of 3, about 3 times a week. But do be cautious of them, because obviously you can put pressure on your hamstrings, or even in some cases your knees. Funnily enough, glute insertion or hamstring insertion near the bum. So do be cautious of those. So I'm pretty happy. We'll see how tomorrow goes. I'd like to do my snatch, triples and back squats tomorrow, but if it's not happening, that's fine. There was a really interesting comment someone left a couple of days ago on that last training vlog, and you all seem either neutral or very positive and optimistic about injuries. It's very inspiring actually. So the reason I'm really optimistic or always positive about injuries is, in my opinion, it's just another problem to be solved. There's very few problems that don't have a solution, certainly when it comes to our personal problems. You know, there's someone out there has the knowledge, and luckily when it comes to injuries, I have quite a bit of knowledge myself. And really luckily, there's a lot of people out there who are experts, who are in different countries or local, who I know can help me. Multiple people who I can think right now. There's probably 5 different people off the top of my head who I know, who I could probably call or text right now, and they'd get back to me within a day or less and help me with my injury. So I'm really lucky in that regard, that I have a lot of people who could help me if something really needed assistance, and I'm very grateful for that. So I have a lot of knowledge there, picked up from a lot of those great people. And I've had lots of injuries, as you've probably seen if you've followed me over the years. Anyone who trains hard is going to have a lot of injuries. So it's just the nature of the game. So I've, so far, touching wood, I've come back from all of them in one piece, or mostly one piece. I haven't lost any of me yet, so you know, you can come back from anything, especially if you have the desire and the patience and the knowledge. And you know, the more I train, the more resilient I get to come back from injuries. So that's probably one of the main reasons, is just that I've had so many experiences of coming back. Exposure therapy, I would suppose, from injuries, where it's literally like, oh, this again, oh, this one again, this one. I can remember my first weightlifting injury was my shoulder. I remember my coach was just like, yeah, that's gonna happen. He was fucking right. He sure was right at the time. He said, that's just weightlifting, just things happen like that. Obviously the knowledge cohesively has gotten better. So that's probably why I'm so optimistic about them. Is just, they're just another problem, another training problem. I see lots of athletes with injuries that I help with a lot, you know, so that's probably why. Okay, I am going to do some sprints, but I'm not going to video them because it's dark outside and you won't be able to see anything. Let's come back tomorrow and we'll do hopefully some snatches. Snatches should be fine, and then I really want to keep squatting, but if it needs another session, it needs another session, so we'll leave it if that's what needs be. But I'll probably do some squats. Okay, 4th session, last of the vlog. Let's try and actually get some weightlifting training done. Snatch triples. Assuming the knee's okay, we'll try and go heavier than 110. My best ever triple I think is 135 for a triple. I was checking out my 155 and the volume landmarks I did was 140 4x2. 4x2 at 140. So we've done 130 3x2 before we did 147. So that's actually pretty good. So we're going to do some snatch triples. If the knee feels really good, obviously I'll go heavier. It hasn't been sore on the snatches, so let's see how it goes. Snatch pulls, we did 160 and they were good on Tuesday. That is the biggest wasp I've ever seen. What's it doing in February? The fuck? Where's it gone? He's dead. So we're gonna go probably heavier at the snatch pulls, assuming they feel okay, and then something like 200 for 5 on the back squat, assuming that feels okay as well. We'll do a pretty solid warm up again, just to make sure that, you know, I don't explode my knee again, and obviously get some extra upper body stuff on the snatch. So without further ado, hopefully there's no more interruptions from the wasps. I don't think it's unethical to kill wasps, is it? It's too late now. So let's get to it. Hopefully we can keep the momentum going. Probably a good question is, do I think that the knee stuff interrupted the momentum? Not. Injuries sometimes don't interrupt momentum as much as bad or shitty training with travel and stuff. Injuries are going to happen, so take those into account. So I don't think this should affect the momentum. But let's go see. Okay, we did 125 for a triple. It was 120 was good. 125 was not as good, but 120 is the most I've done for a triple on the comeback. So psychologically and physically, I was ready. So we just did 125 because in for a penny, in for a pound. Might as well be hung for a sheep as a lamb, as we say in Ireland, which means, you know, if you're gonna go crazy. Knee felt perfect by the time I was warmed up. A little bit of pain on the way up, but 125, not so nice. But it is still made. That's a triple, so that'll do for now. 120 was good. So we're gonna move on to snatch pulls. And we'll go probably pretty heavy on those because my pull isn't strong enough. I would like to do more, but I shan't because I don't want to see if my knee is actually going to explode. Hopefully it's not. Didn't feel anything there. Just like a 0.5 out of 10 achiness. It's a teeny tiny little bit. What is that from? Who's talking with a squeaky voice? Teeny tiny little bit. Something from Rick and Morty? What am I thinking of? Someone remind me. I'm thinking of something from Rick and Morty. The shrimp? Wait, is it the shrimp from Shark's Life? That's what I'm thinking of.
It's fairly happy.
So, 220 by 4. I would like to do more reps, but I don't want to fuck myself up again. I don't want my knee to explode. Feels good. So we'll take this session as a win. The pulls felt kind of heavy even though the snatches felt light, which, you know, that makes perfect sense because that's how pulls go in weightlifting, because they're bitches. So a lot of sets of 145 for triples, and then 220 by 4. Loads of back and core work at the moment. Feels like it's paying off on the pulls and the squats. I have abdoms at the moment, like genuine abdoms, so you know, that's nice. Definitely good momentum. 125 was progress, so what else can we ask for? Squats feel good still. Obviously we still have places to go to squat, but just have to play it cool, bro. Okay, thanks for watching those vlogs, and I'll try to record more again if you like the longer vlogs. Just comment longer vlog if you like longer vlog. I know I do, so I'm gonna make them anyway. I don't care what you think.